Your audience is comprised of very dumb people who want to feel like they have a power daddy on their side too, like the right wing does. So they don't pay attention to what you say. They just want to be included. It's pathetic. The end of no context, just the end of civilization is here. I guess we're fucked now. The end of civilization is here, guys. Here we go.
Depressing. She teaches 8th grade and has more than 100 students, but only 2 are reading at grade level. Yay.
That intro was cuter when we didn't know it was off screen. To the left there.
Is it a rule that all elementary school teachers have to have colored hair? I swear it's a trope. I see it all the time.
Sometimes these kids, I don't understand how they ended up to this point. You know what I mean? Like, I teach 8th grade history, and I have 110-ish students. 2 of them are reading on grade level right now. 18 of them are at a kindergarten level. 55 of those students are between a 2nd and 4th grade level. That's a lot of them. And that's typical of what I've seen lately from students. But it's not just literacy. It's not just literacy, and it's not just like lack of content knowledge. It's not just critical thinking skills. It's basic thinking skills. My students can
How are you gauging this?
Code almost
That's my immediate thought is, how are you gauging this? Like, are the students engaged? Are they actually trying? How can you tell? That's my immediate thought, because everything that she's saying right now makes sense as an assessment if you have perfect confidence that the students are trying and they just can't. Because if the students are not trying, then they also can't, but it's for a different reason, and I'm immediately skeptical of these claims. By the way, like, just to be clear, I was in the public school system. I know how bad it is. I was very briefly in the not the same thing, but I've seen what private school kids are like, and it's at the low income brackets, and they do exist, by the way, typically religious ones. It's not much different. But largely this has to do with they're bored to death. They are so bored. They are so bored with what's going on in the classroom. They aren't trying. They aren't paying attention. They don't know the last thing the teacher said. Does that mean they lack the capacity? No, it means they lack the will. That's it. Those same kids will probably go on their phones or on their tablets later on that night, and they'll just read, like, lore from video games, right? Or whatever stuff that actually interests them. They have the capacity if they have an interest. It's also a little strange, if I may, to say I'm a history teacher. I don't know how kids end up not being literate. Not because teaching grade 8th history means that you would have, you know, an innate knowledge of the particular trajectory that kids today went on to get to a point where they are, you know, not very well read and not very, like, competent at grade level assignments. But simply because, as someone who presumably studied a little bit of history or went into an education program, which is more likely, you will have spent some time studying and learning about how students fail to learn. It's kind of the point, right? So this whole thing is weird, and I don't know who this is for. I don't even know if this person is a teacher. It's perfectly plausible that some dipshit could just get on their phone and go, "Hey guys, I'm like an 8th grade teacher, and the students are really dumb, guys. Civilization is ending. Subscribe to my TikTok."
nothing. They cannot apply.
It's so frustrating talking about this too, because I know.
It's so frustrating to talk about. Vaush, you're not in education. Who are you? You're not talking about this with anybody. You're not sitting around the dining room table with your scholarly friends going, "You know what? I am so deeply troubled by the plight of underperforming middle school students in America today. What can we, rich socialists, do to help?" I don't think that's happening. What is this weird framing where it's like, I hate having this conversation, gang. It's so difficult. You just can't talk about the state of public schools in America today. Who are you talking about this with, horseman?
I know a lot of people watching right now are rolling their eyes, and they're like, isn't this exactly the same as every other time people hit their 30s and then say that they were the last generation that made it out?
I think I'm missing context. That made no sense in light of what you just said.
Last chopper out of Saigon, and all the kids these days are worthless or whatever. Haven't people been complaining about this since ancient Greece and probably well before? It's frustrating because it's like, yeah, I don't know, man. Every generation complains about the next generation's cognitive abilities. Oh, they're so much more rude or whatever. But that doesn't...
That's not cognitive abilities, that's culture.
Discount the possibility that you might eventually run into a set of circumstances where, no, it actually is a lot worse this time.
I don't hear anybody complaining about the cognitive abilities of the current generation. People talk about their manners because they are themselves assholes who are hungry to paint everybody with a negative brush based on their own personal grievances. I don't hear anybody talking about the cognitive abilities declining. I hear about the educational outcomes declining, sure, or not being good, sure, but that's an economic issue. That fundamentally comes down to kids not getting proper nutrition, kids having like barriers to even getting to school, kids not having free time or like a safe place to research or like positive relationships that, you know, reinforce learning. That's not to do with cognition.
Time, you know? It's rough. It's really, and it's like, it's one of the problems. For me, this is up there with climate change, you know? The Trump administration is going to be gone soon, trust me. America is still going to be dealing with bullshit into the foreseeable future, but this administration, its time is limited. This shit, okay, this is like a long-term, like, collapse of civilization thing up there.
No, it's not. It's actually, that's very dumb, Vaush. I'm sorry, that's very dumb. That's very dumb. This teacher whinging about her 8th graders not being able to do the assignments is not the end of civilization. That is so silly.
There with climate
like leaving aside the fact, by the way, just to be clear, that like school quality varies radically between districts, between states. Like what you're witnessing is just a general social disinterest in the learning outcomes of the poor. Because in rich neighborhoods, the 8th graders are learning. In rich neighborhoods, the 8th graders are doing their assignments. He's just taking some random TikToker at its word. I don't know how you get to be like Vaush, to be honest with you. I don't understand it. You are wealthy. You have more freedom than virtually anybody on this earth. You could actually learn stuff and be competent at something, but for no discernible reason, you choose instead to pontificate about stuff about which you know nothing, making yourself into a perpetual laughingstock. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't know what he gets from pontificating about this stuff. You don't know anything about education, Vaush. You don't know anything. You have an undergraduate degree in sociology. Hooray. That's the high school diploma of your generation.
change to me.
Inference. They cannot process questions that are longer than a sentence. They cannot connect cause and effect. They can't track multi-step ideas like an...
Wait, slow down, lady. What is she saying?
They cannot process questions that are longer than a sentence. They cannot connect cause and effect. They can't
connect cause and effect. What a dumb thing to say. What a very dumb thing to say. If they can't connect cause and effect, why are they in your class? How are they getting there? It's a weird thing to say. And yes, I'm taking it to a comical extreme because that's the only place you can take it without her saying literally nothing. They can't connect cause and effect? No, I think what you mean is you ask your students who are not paying attention because they're tired, they're malnourished, and they're bored as fuck. Hey, you, what caused this? I don't know, because he's just woken up.
Track multi-step ideas like in a political cartoon. And
it's again,
they can't
like,
track multi-step ideas like in a political cartoon. Maybe they don't understand the references in a political cartoon, because political cartoons are very particular. And they're often not written very well. And they're often kind of vague. And they often rely upon people like force-feeding them to each other in order to have any kind of impact. It's largely the reception of the cartoon that makes them effective. Not the effectiveness of the cartoon that gives it a wide reception.
we know what's causing this
What grade does she teach first off? Ostensibly 8th grade.
too, right? Part of it is inattentive parenting, right? Parents kind of dropping the ball, but a lot of it's the phones, it's the internet. Yes, obviously we know for a fact that
You think the internet is making it so kids can't understand cause and effect or read, or they are engaging in communication through text constantly. That makes no sense.
exposing a bunch of like
If anything, the day-to-day engagement with written words has increased exponentially with the proliferation of social media devices. People are writing each other constantly. Maybe they're writing badly, but they are writing each other constantly.
2-year-olds to 5-year-olds to 8-year-olds to whatever, to a non-stop train of short form content, incoherent gibberish or whatever. Like, Jesus, it used to be
You are watching a TikTok, sir.
kids would watch TV all the time, but at least TV has like
Quantity of reading doesn't equal quality of reading. Yeah, but I want you to journey with me for a second. What were kids reading before the advent of social media? It's Harry Potter. Okay, we weren't reading frickin' Shakespeare. We weren't out there reading history books. We were out there reading television in word form. We were reading Hunger Games. Okay, we were not reading stuff that challenges you intellectually. We were reading stuff that fascinated us aesthetically. Why did Harry Potter sell so well? Because people love wizards? No. It's because people in that era, and they still do, lived with no freedom because they were children, in dingy, poorly decorated, cramped apartments, in grotesque suburbs that showed all of the signs of the general disregard for humanity that emblemizes capitalism in all eras. And they could disappear into this magical world in which people just cozily had all of their needs met for them by magical sticks that did stuff for them and also acted as guns. Those are cool, apparently. And got to drink hot chocolate and eat textual ASMR. That's what it is. Present Sunday, why do you pretend you're American? You were reading much better than Yankoids. That's a question for the historians.
continuous plot lines. Does that make sense? Like, if you're a young kid and you're watching TV all day, at least you're watching, structured content that has a narrative. There's like a
At least you're watching SpongeBob with its structured narrative. At least you're watching what? Perry the Platypus? Oh yeah. We were being fed premium brain food back then. At least say Bill Nye.
story you have to engage with. You can learn new things. But I don't know. I don't know, with like Coco Melon or whatever the fuck, but a lot of the shit young people watch now, I feel it's literally just like lights and sounds.
You watch a lot of kids shows, Vaush?
It's lights and sounds class for lights and sound students. It's not giving them anything. It's called brain rot for a reason. Yeah.
Is Vaush just like sitting there in the dark by himself watching In the Night Garden? Is that what he's doing?
So what's the solution? Young people just shouldn't have the internet.
So you want... Hang on. Let me see if I get this straight. So you live in a country in which right now, right-wing nutjobs are going into schools and removing books from libraries that disagree with them ideologically. And you want to remove the ability of young people to access the internet. Brilliant. Brilliant thinking, Vaush.
Pretty sure.
It's scaring me a little. Like, I see it every single day. I had a kid yesterday, 4 kids actually. This happened in every class. We were doing guided notes, supposed to be a real easy day. It was review. They wrote down.
I'm gonna have to remind myself what the hell guided notes are. Guided notes. Guided notes are teacher-created handouts with a preset outline, leaving blank spaces for students to fill in key facts, definitions, or concepts during a lecture or reading, promoting focus, active engagement, and providing a complete study guide by reducing the simultaneous demands of listening and reading. Okay. Lady, your students are bored. They're bored. They don't want to read the instructions. You put it in front of them and they see Beyblades.
Down, Maryland was founded as a safe haven for Catholics. It was on the board. They wrote it down.
Okay.
And before we moved on, I call on a student and I ask, hey, where were the Catholics one more time? And these students, what they do is they look at me and then they look at their notes and then they look at the board. They look back at their notes. And some of them never answered me. They never figured out the answer.
Because they're bored. Also, by the way, why do 8th graders need to know that Maryland was a safe haven for Catholics? This is something that does bother me. State schools teach local history like anybody should give a shit. And I mean this seriously. It doesn't matter. Local history does not matter. It is a boring distraction. You need to involve children in the process of history writ large. You need to make it cool for them. You need to focus on the interesting stuff so that they find reasons to care about the local stuff. Don't start with the local stuff because you want to feel like your locality is important somehow, because it isn't. Nobody cares about Maryland once being a haven for Catholics. That doesn't matter to your 8th grade students. They recognize intuitively that's information that will not help them. They recognize intuitively this was the decision by some inscrutable body of people who just thought, oh yeah, we got to put that in there. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. I would care if I'm writing a research paper or preparing a debate concerning the culture of Maryland. I don't care otherwise because that has no relevance to my world otherwise. It doesn't matter. Focus on wars. Wars are cool. Wars are really cool. Teach them about wars. Teach them about people going to space. Teach them about people, like, dying of horrible plagues. Make them excited. There's a reason why kids will go onto Wikipedia and read Resident Evil lore when they can't be bothered to pay attention to, like, 5 seconds of lecture in school, because it's boring, but they love reading stuff that interests them. Give them a reason to find interest in reading. They will do it. Ugh.
It was wild. And I kept giving them hints, like rephrasing the question and saying, like, it's in your notes. We just wrote it down. We just wrote it down.
Okay, but why? Why did you just write it down? Seriously, why did you just write that down? What is the goal here? So they can stand up in the middle of a protest, facing down a line of cops and go, I may not be an educated person, but I know that once upon a time Maryland was a safe haven for Catholics. Ain't that the damn truth? They're bored. They don't care. You failed at the primary purpose of primary school, I guess this is middle school, the primary purpose of this type of education, which is not to put facts into the kids' heads, but to give them the engine that makes them seek them out themselves. This is why the first 2 years of university, almost across the board everywhere, are remedial high school. Because high school is still just boring them with like a random smattering of garbage.
Where are the Catholics? It's on the board. And they never got it. They can't read their own notes.
Present Sunday, she's teaching a grade that should know how to read by now. They do know how to read. She just said they wrote it down. They know how to read. What she is complaining about is responsivity. The teacher doesn't set state education standards. I don't care. This teacher is going on TikTok complaining about this. I don't care. First of all, this is kind of bullshit because once again, oh, they can't read. I know they can't read because when they wrote down the thing I told them to write down that was on the board that they had to read to write down, they couldn't tell it back to me. She's being unfair. She's making sweeping claims about the intellectual capacities of her students.
Not, and I don't mean they're...
If this was somebody who wrote a letter saying, hey, I'm disturbed by the lack of engagement and the ability to follow instruction of my students, I think there's something going on at the curriculum level or at cultural level, something we need to address as a society, 100%, I agree. What she's describing, the inability, the unwillingness, for whatever reason, of the students to engage with the things that she's trying to teach, that's a problem. That does not mean the students don't understand cause and effect. That does not mean that the students can't read. Like, fuck off with that. I'm sorry.
handwriting. I mean, like, they can't make heads or tails of it on the page.
Of handwriting? I mean, I've seen some handwriting before that I can't make heads or tails of. That's not really relevant here.
Kid, today, I have these extra credit assignments, 3 of them. They're on the wall. They can
like the vast majority of the text that you encounter is not in cursive today. Just to be clear, that's not usual. We don't even teach cursive in school anymore, usually. And if they do, it's like a little like side thing they do for like a day. It's like, hey, here's a little like Trace's cursive letters. You'll never use this because you're typing out your resumes now.
Turn it in at any time.
Fuck, dude, that's so bleak. Yeah, people forget, like, spoken.
Just not going to analyze this at all. Just like, oh, yeah, the teacher says her students are stupid. Oh yeah, isn't that bleak? The teacher thinks her students are stupid. The students must be stupid.
Spoken word, speech.
But you were criticizing what she was teaching and not her. I am criticizing her and what she's teaching because she is laying the failure of her attempt to teach the students on the student's disability, essentially. I am blaming her for that. Had she not done that, wouldn't blame her.
We have our brains intuitively decode it. Like, we as a species are meant to speak and understand each other. Obviously, early man was probably just doing like tonal grunts, and
I didn't catch the beginning of that. What the hell's he talking about?
Our brains intuitively decode it. Like, we as a species are...
What do we intuitively decode? What the hell are you talking about?
Credit assignments, 3 of them. They're on the wall. They could turn it in at any time.
Fuck, dude, that's so bleak. Yeah, people forget, like, spoken word, speech. We have our brains...
When I was in grade 2, grade 6. When I was in grade 6, I was so bored. I would be sitting there in class daydreaming, and I'd look up and everybody was gone. School had ended. That's how out of it I was. I've got a lot of flaws. I am not an illiterate person. Students in these classes are miserable, tired, and bored as fuck. It is not due to a lack of a capacity cognitively to comprehend cause and effect. that is making them unresponsive zombies in class.
Intuitively decode it. Like we as a species.
Sorry, hang on. What the hell is he talking about? Intuitively decode? Intuitively decode what?
It's 3 of them. They're on the wall. They could turn it in at any time.
Fuck, dude, that's so bleak. Yeah, people forget, like, spoken word speech, we have our brains intuitively decode it. Like we as a species are meant
What the hell does that mean?
to speak and understand each other.
We as a species are meant to speak and understand each other? What are you, fucking Aristotle?
Obviously, early man was probably just doing, like, tonal grunts, and we were picking up the gist, but, like, we are meant to do it. We have sections of our brain that are dedicated to that kind of interpretive work.
No, we don't. No, what? No, language is a cultural invention, Vaush. This is not natural. This is a tool we invented that we elaborated upon over a very long time. Our brains are not geared towards it. That's why people have to be taught it, and if they aren't taught it, they don't learn it. In fact, they lose the ability later on to learn it at all.
That's not the case with writing.
The sociology degree, by the way. Not something you talk about in my degree. I'm aware of this.
Writing is it's symbology, right? I mean, we're encoding thoughts into text. Every
do you think symbology is natural?
Like character is a symbol. You need to learn that, and the best way to learn that is you have to read and you have to write. And a lot of people no longer read or write, so it's just bewildering to them. You know, they're unfamiliar with it in a way that doesn't make sense if you're literate. Because once you're literate, it's like, oh, it's intuitive, right? You read and then you.
Is it intuitive naturally? We have a part of our brain that's for it? Or is it intuitive once we learn it? Also, just to emphasize, this teacher said the students can't read. Then she describes the students reading and writing.
Understand.
50% of Americans are illiterate. Sunday is wrong on this. What do you mean 50% of Americans are illiterate? How does that have anything to do with what I just said? What? I specifically just said. Hang on. Wait, slow down. What are you talking about? I said that human beings don't have a natural, intuitive grasp of written language and of spoken language. Of symbology. That's what I said. How does there being low literacy rates in America not... How does that conflict with that?
But that's not innate, man. That's not innate. You have to...
I think it means that we have a natural propensity for language and speech, which I think most linguists agree with. First of all, that wouldn't be a linguist's issue. But secondly, obviously, we have a propensity for language and speech. But he said it's for that. We have a part of our brain that is for language and speech. Because Sunday keeps saying that all the kids can read fine and are just bored, but a lot of people are struggling. Yes, but you are not paying attention to what I just said, which is the teacher, who also just said this, was referring specifically to an exercise in which the students had to read off the board and write it down. Oh my god. People jump in with like 2 seconds of having paid attention to what was just said and have like a thing to pontificate about.
Have you considered that folks on TikTok might be over-exaggerating the problem for clicks? No, because what she is, maybe they, I don't know, purple hair, is describing is what I've heard from basically every single person working in education for the past several years.
Meaning who?
Like, if you go on the teacher's subreddit and...
Vaush is on the teacher... Vaush is on the teacher subreddit, guys. Vaush is on Reddit looking for, Oh no. Oh no. Vaush is on Reddit looking at primary school subreddits. Okay.
make sure you don't have a loaded gun anywhere near you, okay? It's pretty bad.
What?
It's really, really, really bad. You know, it's not, maybe, I don't know if she's overstating the case. I can't really say.
It's not a matter of overstating the case. She directly contradicted herself. Also, claiming the students can't understand cause and effect is like, I'm sorry, your students are not vegetables. This is not because the students are dumb. I'm sorry, this stuff makes me mad, and I really get mad when people like defend characterizations of kids like this. Kids today are so dumb. They're so dumb. They can't even understand cause and effect. No, they're bored. They are not in the room with you. They're somewhere else. They're tired. They're hungry. They're sick because the food they did eat was full of sugar and garbage.
I'm an ex-teacher. All what she's saying is true. Yeah, I've heard. Please do your best to remove symbology from your lexicon. I won't. I'll say it even more now because now it's been repeated. It's been like further encoded. The engraving has been done deeper. I agree with you in general, but would just like this backed up with stats. I mean, we have.
Dude, kids have food. What? What do you think you're responding to, Veronat? Dude, kids have food. Did I say that kids don't have food? If you grew up in a poor family, there is no attention to nutrition. So what do you have for breakfast before you go to your 8 hours? How is it 8 hours? Yeah, it's about 8 hours of schooling. 7 to 8 hours, including travel time. What do you have? Bowl full of milk and sugar puffs. Some variant on that. Some variant on candy that has been thinly disguised as a grain product. And you are dying the entire day. Your stomach feels sick. Your brain is tired. Your eyelids are heavy. You don't function. Yeah, go focus on Catholics in Maryland for the next hour on that diet. That's what I'm talking about. Malnutrition is rampant in the United States.
Have data on literacy, and every year less and less young people are literate. We do have data for this. We're just hearing about an anecdotal case of it. But in terms of...
But you're not, though. This isn't a literacy question. This is an engagement question. The students are writing. We know this because the premise of the exercise was that they wrote down the thing first. The problem is that when asked a question afterwards, they have no retention. And they have no retention probably because they are literally just doing what she says to do, and they're completely zoned out.
The functional illiteracy, isn't it less than half the country at this point? Less than half the country is functionally literate. If we take a look at young people, almost no people in pre-high school have the expected level of reading proficiency for their age group. Almost nobody. Like she's saying. I currently work as an after-school tutor. If anything, this person understates the problem. Yeah, it's really fucking...
Well, she doesn't specify the problem at all. She just says, hey, my students are dumb. And it scares me. That's not expressing a problem. It's actually, what's most baffling about this is that the teacher doesn't seem to have the tools to actually pinpoint a problem. She's only able to talk about how, hey, at this stage in the assignment, I lose my class's focus entirely.
Bad. In pre-high school, like middle school and elementary school. I'm wondering if it's as bad in Europe or just USA. I think a version of this is happening all over the world, but America's getting it worse than Europe. Of course, Europe has there's at least 5 countries in Europe, so presumably there's a lot of variance, but there's a bunch of states.
It depends on where she lays the blame. Well, she said that students didn't understand cause and effect. So she's characterizing this as a cognitive deficiency on the part of the kids. They literally can't think. They're stupid. They've got carrots for brains. Nothing going on in there. They can't understand cause and effect, guys. They stick their finger in a mousetrap and it's ah! They'll do it again. Ah! Ah! Over and over. They can't understand cause and effect. I'm quoting the teacher.
In the USA. I think America in general is doing worse right now.
Very insightful, Vaush. Thank you.
And I think they're pretty easy. Like this one, and it replaces your lowest daily grade. So like end of the quarter, lots of these start to roll in.
Yeah.
This one says on a separate sheet.
It's because teachers pretty much aren't allowed to fail anyone anymore because they'd lose funding. Yeah, that's a big part of it. We need to just make it possible to fail kids.
And do what with them? Do what with them? Put them in the robust educational assistance program that makes sure that kids that are not meeting learning standards are getting the help they need individually in order to overcome their nutritional and organizational problems so that they can focus in school and succeed. That doesn't exist. That doesn't exist. What you are describing is kick kids out, let them grow up illiterate and go work in the mines.
If a kid has to spend like 3 years repeating 6th grade, they have to spend 3 years repeating 6th grade. Like, I don't know. You guys know that in America.
Very not. Well, do you not think that kids are suffering from nutritional problems in America? And are you brain damaged?
Right? You can't actually fail. You can't hold kids back anymore. You can't hold kids back a year anymore. The way it's set up is a school loses funding every time they have to hold a kid back. So they can't actually fail. Like, a kid can basically, a kid can do really badly the whole year, like not even turn anything in or whatever, like get zeros in every test, and they'll still give them a D- and send them on up to the next grade, because the alternative would be to get funding cuts for the school, which would worsen everyone's education. People didn't know this. Well, a lot of people probably don't know this because
That's not how that works.
it's
People don't know that because that's not real, Vaush.
shockingly stupid. But yeah, that's how our educational system works. I saw a teacher.
Why do you think so? That's my immediate question, is why does Vaush think so? Why does he think so? Why does he think that? Where are you getting this from? Who told you this? Why does he think this? That's such a weird thing to assume. Why would you think that? Oh, because you probably consume basically right-wing media in your private time. Because you're a rich person who has contempt for poor people. That's why. And your audience is comprised of very dumb people who want to feel like they have a power daddy on their side too, like the right wing does. So they don't pay attention to what you say. They just want to be included. It's pathetic. It's pathetic.
Teacher in a podcast say the national truancy rate is about 30%, but the graduation rate in high school is about 90%. Whew. I feel like conservatives would want to fix this. Nah, not really. They want to get rid of the Department of Education. This is kind of part of their like long-term.
But what do you want to do? That's more to the point, Vaush. What do you want to do instead? Because the solution that I have heard from you is you want to take the kids that are being failed by the current system and to just fail them officially. And it just stops there. What do you then do with those kids? See, for me, the answer is fund the schools a lot more, revise the curriculum, make it so that they have a reason to be engaged, make programs so that they're well-nourished, and so on and so forth. And give them more opportunities to succeed in the classroom by providing it with the resources and the personnel to actually, like, pay attention to the needs of individual students. But what I'm getting from Vaush is just fail them. Fail them. The kids need tough love. We need to separate the losers from the winners. That's how Vaush got to where he is, by the way. Just merit. Hard work. Study. He had discipline. Focus. Sheer will.
Goal. I would say, though, that like liberals and conservatives
I saw it when those Holly posts leaked, and it was the size of a fucking pencil.
have both dropped the ball on this pretty hard. But yeah, no, wanting people dumber is a big part of the conservative project, yeah. From firsthand experience, my 16-year-old sister genuinely cannot read longer than one paragraph and is fighting for her life in the SAT. Jesus, that's really grim, man. That's real. It does kind of feel like,
I actually didn't see those.
you know, Last Chopper out of Saigon a little bit. I don't know. I don't know if I could.
But I've heard what people have said.
I don't know if I could. If I had a younger relative who was functionally illiterate, I feel like I couldn't help but look down on them. I know it's not.
I'm going to hear you say that one more time, sir.
Is a big part of the conservative project. Yeah. From firsthand experience, my 16-year-old sister genuinely cannot read longer than one paragraph and is fighting for her life in the SAT. Jesus, that's really grim, man. That's real. It does kind of feel like, you know, Last Chopper out of Saigon a little bit. I don't know. I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could. If I had a younger relative who was functionally illiterate, I feel like I couldn't help but look down on them. I know.
May I remind you, sir, that you are a pedophile?
I know it's not really their fault, but the only thing I would want to do with them is try to teach them how to read. Like, I wouldn't want to, oh, you want to hang out? We're at, like, the Thanksgiving party? Yeah, let's hang out. Okay, here we go. What does this sentence say? Can you read this out loud for me? I feel like I wouldn't have anything else to talk about with them because so much of the, I guess, like, experiential world is rooted in the ability to read. And if you can't do that, I feel like I got to cross that hurdle before I can eat. But I can't teach you how to read in an afternoon.
Listen, Vaush, I'm sorry. People in your taxes folder are not typically reading age.
Maybe
I don't believe you.
ever.
If anything, I would probably imagine that probably ticks one of your boxes.
This is just an argument for homeschooling eventually from the left. Well, no, this is the argument for homeschooling from the right. You make public education so bad that eventually it becomes the better option to homeschool kids, right?
It's not an argument for public education. The argument is typically that they can teach their kids religious principles.
Like, homeschooling sucks. It's bad for a wide variety of reasons that I've explained and reiterated on many, many times. But
Depends on who you are.
right now, like, if you send your kids off to public school, I mean, there is an upper cap on what you can expect from them, I think. Unless they end up distinguishing themselves in some way, they become one of those, like, lucky, like the 90th percentile in every school that does really well, and they're the ones who are going to get the jobs and the scholarship opportunities and stuff. And if you're not in that group, you're in the the serfdom.
Sheet of paper, choose 4 principles of the Constitution, and for each one, write what it means in your own words.
American charter school thoughts.
Yeah, you're telling me that the students can't read. Or if they write anything in response to those questions, they can read. The issue is interest. The issue is the students are not interested, invested at all in what you're teaching them. That's the issue. They don't have the energy to invest in it, or it is boring. Or both, which is more likely.
Charter schools don't fix the problem at all. They're just a way of milking money out of the government. They don't fix the problem.
An example of how it works in the U.S. government today, and a personal example, how that principle might show up.
Oh boy, you're painting all homeschool with a broad brush, or whatever the idiom is. Yeah, of course. If I'm discussing a concept quickly, I kind of have to describe it in a general sense. But I've talked about it more at length in the past. You probably wouldn't like how I've talked about it in the past, though. I have a very, very negative opinion of homeschooling. I think everyone.
Based on what? Based on what? What is this based off of? Your years of study in an education department at a university? You don't know anything about this, Vaush. This isn't your area. You don't have an area. You've got an undergraduate degree.
Should go to public school at gunpoint, and all public schools should be excellent. You know, I don't think parents should have a say in any of it. You just get in the factory. You know, get in the education factory.
What?
Schooling. I think everyone should go to public school at gunpoint, and all public schools should be excellent. You know, I don't think parents should have a say in any of it. You just get.
So who gets a say in it then? Because I don't know if you know this, Vaush. Universities are for profit. The people who are filling the roles in those universities are being trained in for-profit universities. What are you talking about?
Get in the factory. You know, get in the education factory.
they are getting in the education factory. That's the problem. That's the problem. The reason why parents need to have a say in school stuff, because I thought you were an anarchist, Vaush. You want the state to just dictate everything? Like, I've got a problem. I've got a problem with opinionated religious parents who just want their kids not to learn stuff that makes them uncomfortable, sure. But then who is making the decisions? Vaush, who is in the White House right now? Vaush, who is being allowed by the courts to remove books from libraries? What do you mean you don't want parents to be able to have any say in how schools are run?
You will read Catcher in the Rye. You will develop strong opinions on...
Why will you read Catcher in the Rye? Can anybody answer this? Why Catcher in the Rye? There are more important things for kids to read. They're like, for one thing, anything that interests them. Get kids reading at all. Like, one of the worst parts about Canadian education is not the fact that they talk about Indigenous history. It's the fact that they force feed you a bunch of factoids with no passion or no interest and no interesting detail, nothing to actually hook you. Just a month of misery. It's a month of misery. Here, we'll read a story called Copper Sunrise. What's Copper Sunrise about? Well, a settler boy meets a native boy, and the native boy dies. Gets killed by bad settlers. And then he sees a copper sunrise. Because, you know, as Philosophy Tube tells us, it's okay, they won, they're still there. And it's like, what am I supposed to take from this? You want to get kids, like, actually, like, caring about this stuff? Tell them, like, go into, like, mythology. Talk about, like, spooky, cool, fascinating, like, Indigenous, like, religion, mythology, hunting, warfare, stuff that engages kids. Because then later on, that will drive them to look at the stuff that appears dull now, but is super important. You think I would be interested in, like, frickin' Leibniz as like a 13-year-old in middle school? No, I was interested in Cthulhu, though, and that got me there.
Catcher in the Rye that you'll reflect on in your mid to late 20s. Thank you.
In your own life, school, or community. I wrote them an example, and I labeled it, do not use the example. Okay. And I even gave them a checklist at the bottom.
Cool.
Make sure you have these 4 things so you can get full credit before you turn it in.
Okay, bored students who are just doing the thing to get it over with are not reading those instructions. You ever try to, you ever, like, get into your head that you want to play Warhammer or something, or you want to play a complicated board game, and you may even spend like $100, $200 on getting it set up so you can. You lay it all out, you pull out the instructions to learn how to play, and screw it, I'll do it later.
Make sure you have the 4 principles and the...
You know what the best class I ever took was in public school? The best class. It was a literature class. You know how the teacher taught us the Odyssey? He didn't make us read the Odyssey. He talked about how this one time years ago, he went on a fishing trip to the Mediterranean. Had this weird guy with a Russian accent who invited him onto his boat. They went out with fishing rods to go fishing. The water's like crystal blue. Sometimes like big waves. And then all of a sudden his rod just goes whoosh, and he rushes to go grab the rod and he's like, wait, you have a shark. And you want to know what? Kids in that class were interested in the Odyssey. Heart of Darkness. What does he do? Does he make us go, okay, class, read line by line Heart of Darkness, please? No. We watch The Bug Pit in King Kong, the Peter Jackson one. That gets you into it. Paradise Lost. We read that boring, inscrutable preamble that Milton writes? No. Because that's only boring if you don't know why you're reading it. Instead, guys, you need to understand, like, what Milton's talking about, they're not like little cutie, like those glass China doll angels. I don't know if they're China dolls, but those glass angels that you'll see in, like, your grandmother's, like side table or something. No, these were like transformers. Their spears were like the size of, like, trees. Show us like a scene from Transformers or something. That's the scale you're talking about. Get them interested in it to begin with. That's because you can read efficiently, Sunday. I don't know what you're responding to, Brooks.
Meaning in the examples. Make sure it's one full page. And this student just turned it in. And I read it. First of all, they don't write it on a separate...
Okay, so all these teachers suck then? You won't criticize the kids but do feel okay going after people who dedicate their lives to helping children learn? Why would I criticize the kids? I'm sorry, Very Not. Is your point that the kids are bad? Well, screw you. I don't care what you think then. That's dumb. You should be embarrassed for saying that in public.
Sheet of paper. I've only...
No, I don't think the teachers are bad. I think this teacher is bad for blaming her kids, going online under her own face where her students can see this, and saying that the kids can't think. That the kids she's teaching are stupid. Those kids have TikTok. There are students in her class who might see this and know that this teacher who is sitting down with them, helping them to learn, yeah, she went on TikTok afterward and said, these dumb fucking kids, they can't even tell cause and effect. So this teacher in particular, screw this teacher. Actually, this teacher's an asshole.
I had one kid this year do that. They just write, like, in the spaces of the instruction, like in the margins and stuff. Very bizarre. But, like, they just don't do the assignment. It's like they don't understand because it's not written in, like, a multiple choice format. This is exactly what this...
I came late. Did you find out why she thought this was a good idea? Because idiots like Vaush socially reward people like this for doing this. That's why. Call in like on a cell phone. Call in by joining the Discord and going into the waiting room. And I will pull you on and we can chat.
Student wrote. They wrote the principal's definition in the student's own words.
Let me hear that again.
This is exactly what this student wrote. They wrote the principal's definition in the student's own words.
Your student's very funny, and you should pass them.
They rewrote the instructions.
Yeah, because they're making fun of you. You idiot.
The whole thing. Even the example where it says, do not use this example.
Doxed.
They just copied.
Is she showing like an actual kid's assignment? What an actual scumbag. If that is an actual kid's assignment, that is... She should be fired. She should not be teaching kids. This person should not be in charge of teaching kids. A, because she's dumb, but primarily B, that's a foul thing to do to a student who's struggling.
The instructions and wrote them again. And
what do you, like, as a teacher, what do you do with it? Like,
not this, Vaush. Not this, you moron, you clown, you buffoon. That is actually disgusting. That is actually disgusting. Nobody in Vaush's chat, by the way, is thinking for 5 seconds, hey, this asshole is going online under her own face so her students will recognize her, saying that she thinks her students cannot think at the level of like an ape. And look at this stupid kid's reply on their assignment. I'm sorry. I guess it's not true that there's few things that make me mad. There are a few things that make me this mad. This is like This is foul. This is just a betrayal of the vocation of teaching.
She should be able to just hold all these students back.
The kid is smarter than her. The kid she's making fun of, whoever that is, that kid has wit. That kid is smarter than her. She can't comprehend this.
A year. Like what is the point of school if you just graduate even if you didn't learn anything? I don't
That's your takeaway? That's your takeaway, horseman? Okay.
understand. What isn't the whole point of grading as a concept to sort of make sure you know the stuff before you go ahead? I don't get it.
And then checked off the checklist, even though, like, you didn't do it. And this student, just like the students yesterday, I don't think they're fooling with me. This is a...
Then you're really dumb. If you don't think a student who heard you say or read you saying, write down, but not the teacher's instructions, and then the kid wrote down, but not the teacher's instructions. If you don't think they're fooling with you, you may be, and I realize that this is like psychological, medical terminology that only like trained psychiatrists and therapists should be using, so I need to be careful here, but you might be, just diagnostically, a bozo. You might be a bozo.
Student who's doing extra credit.
At this point, the teacher can't fix this. No, the teacher can't fix. No. This isn't the teacher's fault. It's iPads and iPhones and iThings, and the parents' fault. Mostly the internet, I think. I don't think all parents have gotten much worse in one generation. I think, but we do know one thing that's changed in the past 20 years.
By the way, if the students are using the internet, they know how to read. They can engage with those questions.
One thing for sure, I don't think the human condition is...
Sunday, you have a caller? Oh my god. Oh. It's not Brooks. Oh, happy day. I'm sorry, Brooks. We'll talk soon. Hello. How are you?
This is... No, I'm not Brooks.
You're not Brooks? Well, get out of here then. No, what's up?
You wanted to talk to me.
I know. I'm joking. That was a joke.
Ooh. Crap, I need to pause the stream. Yeah, so anyways, I want to call in. You just got to the part where Vaush essentially agrees with you that they're disinterested in a bit of a different way of phrasing it, saying that they have no attention span. Okay. And of course, when you're not interested, you have no attention span. You'd agree with that, right?
Sure.
Yeah, so that's what you were saying, essentially, that they are disinterested. They don't, one, they don't care, two, and they're basically, their spans have been fucking fried by, I don't know, iPads, Roblox, being groomed on,
I like how you shortened their attention spans to spans when you were complaining about their attention spans being fried. I just find that funny. Continue, please.
Wait, what did I do?
You're good. Continue.
Oh, I just said span instead of spans? My bad. Sorry about that.
What do you mean by spans?
Well, like the ability for them to hold interest in any particular topic.
You mean their attention spans?
Yeah, like effective attention span.
The joke I was making is that you are not able even to say attention span without shortening it because you can't focus on longer. Just go on. It's okay. It doesn't matter.
Hey, I'm not saying it's not happening to me too.
Fair enough.
So there you go. More evidence.
That is a fair point. Continue.
Yeah. So I think you're not too far apart from Vaush, right? From Ian. I think that if you had listened to, like, let it play out a little bit longer, you would have gotten that part. And you probably
I haven't not let it play a bit longer. I'm still in the middle of watching it. I just stopped to talk to you.
I know.
Okay.
I know. So my contention is I don't think that he's completely wrong here. I think that there is an issue with the kids. I do believe that to be the case.
But I think there's an issue with the kids. I agree with that.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't think it's all nutrition or like socioeconomic factors, unless she's teaching in like
hang on. What's left then? Spiritual? What do you think they're doing?
I think that the issue is that the way that the kids are being perhaps not read to at home, that they are, at eighth grade, they've had many years of schooling that has failed them and passed them on. And yeah, I don't really see kids being held back.
Do you know that, what do you suppose the average number of jobs that an adult in the United States has?
I think they say it's like 3 now.
Okay. What can you not do when you are working 3 jobs?
Well, I mean, you might not be able to devote as much time to extracurricular activities.
There
like
you go. You see,
reading to your children.
He understands.
But, however, that's not.
Go on.
That people make time. They'll be able to make time if they want to. I think it's not a priority. I think that the priorities have changed, and they don't give a fuck. They care about football, or as you would call it.
You think somebody working
soccer.
3 jobs can just make time? When would they make time? Pray tell.
Well, they can make time at the end of the day, and I don't think the average person does have. At the
end of the day.
Okay. If you're saying that nobody has the ability to read to their kids, that's not true. People do have the ability to read to their kids. Did I say nobody has the ability
to read to their kids? I was taught by my mother.
But you bring it up because you're trying to say that the average person works too much
No.
read to their kids.
This is why I bring it up. I was taught to read by my mother. If my mother had to work when I was a child, I would not have been taught to read by my mother.
Yes.
Right? Okay. There you go.
Yes.
Why was I not taught to read by my father?
Because he was a shrimping captain.
He worked.
I don't know.
He worked 1 full-time job.
Yeah.
I
mean, I had the same thing, but I mean,
also he was terrifying. But leaving that aside,
yes, I mean, I've had similar experiences. It might have been the same father, for all all that I know. But because terrifying. But my point is, I don't think that it's all just completely. I don't think it's all just like nutrition or like no time to read to their kids. I think that there's a problem with the school system that needs to be addressed, and it's not being addressed because on the one side they want the right wants people to be Christian fundamentalists. They don't care.
What's the problem?
And on the left hand side, they don't want to
enlighten me. I'm actually very interested. What is the problem in your view in the school system?
The problem with the school system is that they are, I believe, they're not teaching reading correctly. They've kind of moved over this like whole language model, supposedly, where they don't even want to like understand the mechanics of the English language in schools in America, which primarily teach English. So they have problems with literacy there.
Okay.
And I do agree that they make it boring. 100% agree. I was surprised to hear you say that because I thought you would have just found most school stuff interesting based on.
No, God, no. School is horribly boring for me.
Well, okay. Well, that's just surprises me because I thought you would make keep your own interest because you're like self-driven. But that maybe I'm not correct.
Nobody is self-driven.
Nobody
is self-driven.
I found school to be interesting. I found school to be interesting, but I would say yes. Like when you use the Native American, the Turtle Islanders, where like you like didn't care. You're like, this is boring. I'd rather learn mythology. Like I mean, I get that, but there's a point where you just have to do it. Like as a student, you must teach. You must know that you need to do it, because otherwise you're fucked in your life going forward. And I think that some people just don't understand or don't care, and it's hard to make people care. You can't like they say like if you don't care about how certain minority groups are being treated, it's hard to make somebody care, right? Like a conservative.
The purpose of a schooling system is to create people, is to mold people into the kinds of things that self-direct and will learn on their own, fundamentally at bottom. Is to make them
I wish that were true, but I don't think that's true. I think that there's a curricula that's been devised and set mostly in Texas apparently, and they basically just say, here's all the material, this is it. We teach reading this way, we teach math this way, and we don't really, it's not giving kids the ability to learn on their own.
Read instructions, seek out and engage with opportunities and tasks. That's what it's for. In other words, to be able to continue learning on your own. You need to be able to read because you can't have somebody over your shoulder pointing constantly for the rest of your life. That would not be efficient for obvious reasons.
Correct. Yeah, that'd be nice. I agree. That's what it should be. I don't think that's what it is. I think most teachers just teach exactly what they're supposed to teach. The students do exactly what they should do to get through the day. That's it.
I have no disagreement with that. So what's the problem you have with what I said?
I think you just needed to listen to this longer. And yes, Vaush is annoying. Yes, he's annoying. But he's got to like pretend he's not there. And
I am listening to the teacher very carefully. This is what I heard. Hey, I'm a teacher in the public school system. Here's me with my distinctive purple hair. Okay, if you're a parent or if you're a student in my class, you might recognize me. You might recognize me as the teacher who helped you with this assignment yesterday. The kid who wrote this assignment is a dumb kid who doesn't understand cause and effect. I'm scared because of how dumb my students are. And Vaush's response to this is, oh, you know what? They got to be able to fail the kids.
Well,
some student, if this person is not bullshitting that they are a teacher and all this stuff isn't made up, some student may have seen this and gone, oh, wow, my teacher who was so nice to me yesterday and was helping with my assignment, she thinks I'm a moron.
Yeah,
that is
bad.
Okay.
I mean,
that person should be fired.
I mean, it's a shitty thing to do. I'm not going to say whether this teacher is a good person or not.
It's not just a shitty thing to do. Blaming like learning outcomes in school on kids not understanding cause and effect, on them being like functionally like not even being illiterate, on just like having no cognition. Like that's what you said. They don't understand cause and effect.
Yeah.
No, that's gross. That's gross.
Yeah, it's terrible. This woman should not have shown her face, so she's not identifiable. If she wants to complain about this for karma on a freaking TikTok, yeah, I agree with that. I didn't even listen, or I didn't even watch the audio. I was listening to or I didn't watch the video. I was listening to the audio on my way home from work. But like I think that yes, it's bad for her to show her face. It's bad for her to show that assignment that I just where maybe the kid's name is on it. I don't even know if that was the case. But yeah, that's horrible. And shouldn't.
Hey, how was work?
Yeah.
How was work?
How was work? Huh? How was work?
How was work? You're on your way home from work.
Well, I got free donuts, so it was pretty good.
Okay, so good. You tired? Do you have a long shift?
I was nourished. No, I'm not tired.
Not tired? Okay, I'm gonna tell you what.
I have an easy job in academia, which is a scary place to be, but the perks are that you really go into the office like maybe 2 to 3 days a week, which is nice. So
what do you do in academia?
So I'm not making that up. I'm not.
Just out of curiosity, what do you do?
Yeah. What do I do?
Yeah. Don't dox yourself, just like in broad terms.
I'm somewhat of like an accountant almost for academia.
Okay, that checks out. You're an accountant that's employed by university.
I publish papers as well, but
so are you like
my H index is
you must be like a grad student then, right?
I was at one point. Now I've ascended to employee.
Okay.
Oh, technically, grad students are employees. A lot of them are paid, but
okay. So you're not in academia. You're just employed by an academic institution. Because if I work as a janitor for university, I'm not in academia, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think janitors are worthy of respect, and they might.
Oh, I am. They just aren't academics by dint of being janitors. You can be an academic and a janitor, but not by publishing. But not by dint of being a janitor, right?
Well, perhaps.
Right. Perhaps. So if I work as a fry cook in one of the in the cafeteria, I'm not in academia because I work as a fry cook at a university.
Well, some would say that.
No, everybody would. Who would say that you're?
Some would say that. That includes. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. I
think we're getting sidetracked.
What, do you have any other questions about my personal stuff or whatever? I mean,
Vaush's solution is just to send kids. Is just to fail kids, but there's no institution or thing to actually do anything with those kids once they are failed.
Vaush has no solutions. First of all,
then we agree.
Made a comment like, yes, I don't disagree with you. That's what I'm saying. I don't disagree with you at all. I'm saying he does not have solutions. He talked about the need for kids to be able to be failed. I agree that in some cases we need to give kids more attention, which might mean keeping them back grades. But there is an incentive to push the toothpaste out of the tube and get them to the next grade without the attention they deserve. Yes, 100%. I don't think they're just like, oh, no, everyone gets exactly what they need. That's not the case. We know that there are, in the United States, there are like IEP programs, or might not be using the right terminology, but for kids that have learning like needs, difficulties, where they're trying to pare those back and underfund them, et cetera. And which means that they won't get the environment they need to learn because they have challenges. They might be have autism, might have some sort of disability of some kind, whatever, and they're not getting the help they need. We know that that kids are not getting what they need, just in general, and then some are way worse than others.
Let's say you have
kids
a kid
being failed and being kept, huh?
Let's say you have a kid, okay, who for the first
Yes.
10 years of their life, okay, formative, they were given a superb education, okay? They were taught super well.
Yeah.
They are reading at a high school reading level in middle school, okay? They're awesome. And then,
well,
and then hear me out. And then hear me out. And then,
go ahead.
For a solid year, they are fed nothing but sugary food and instant food full of salt and sugar and very little nutrients and stuff that just makes them feel sluggish and tired. They have to get up early in the winter for a good portion of it. They have to trudge to school, possibly if their parents can't drive them, and they have to sit in class and listen to a boring ass teacher talk about a boring ass subject with no context, and they have to pay close attention and fill out their assignments. Are they going to perform well?
If they want to, they will. I understand that it is a
let me tell you something.
It's like a
let me tell you something. As someone who is very invested in high school, in my class, I was very interested. If you are starving and you feel sick as a result, and not starving in the sense of you don't have food, starving in the sense of you don't have nutrition, as in the food you are being given fills your stomach, but doesn't actually like make your system run at all optimally, you don't want to learn. You do not want to learn. You are miserable. And for kids in particular, because you learn through experience, painful experience, and through punishment often, to grit your teeth and bear with, like, sometimes tremendous degrees of suffering, because that's what you have to do to get by as an adult. But when you're a kid, that is the worst you have ever felt.
Yeah.
And you give up. Kids give up. Because there is no, unless you're going to argue with me that there's some primal spiritual force inside all of us that allows us to just overcome, based on the quality of our souls, the exigencies of our day-to-day lives, so we just the better people just rise up and just become good students. You're not going to argue that, are you?
Some people, well, okay. So you have a debuff applied to your Warhammer units. You're playing Total War Warhammer 3, which I assume you play every day. That's not an insult.
I also don't.
Okay, well,
I don't even own Total War Warhammer. Go on.
You should. It's on sale right now. You should get it.
You know what I'm into right now is
earlier.
Stratego on my tablet. Really enjoying that right now.
Stratego. Okay. Well, I can't say that I played Stratego or Risk. I was never really into that, but I was into Warhammer.
Stratego's better.
And the analogy I'm going to use is that if you have like a debuff, that doesn't mean you just go from 100 to 0 immediately. I understand. I agree with you 100% that all like nutritional issues.
No.
Whatever it is.
No, let me tell you.
Fuck you.
Let me tell you. Buddy.
But like you don't.
Let me tell you. Yeah,
it
does. You go to 0.
But
you go.
I don't believe that this lady. If we believe her and take her to word, which I don't know why we should, but if we were just to give her benefit of the doubt and say 98% of our kids are starving, where is she? That's 98% are starving. That can't possibly be true.
Well, this is a teacher who midway through her sentence like directly contradicted herself. She said her students can't read, then used the example of her students reading the assignment and responding to it as a joke, as evidence.
Yeah, they trolled her. Yes. Yeah. I mean, yes. When I heard that on the way home on the audio, yeah, I was like, okay, obviously they can read, but she doesn't mean like probably just literally read anything. She means like they are not retaining information from. She
said they can't understand. She said they cannot understand cause and effect.
I would have to know. Yeah, I remember that. I would have to know exactly what she means because there's no details here. There's very broad terms, which
I know, like, which raises some questions about the competency of a teacher whose job primarily is to communicate lessons to students. If she can't if she can't explain herself basically like this. Yes. Yeah,
if she can't explain herself on TikTok. Yeah, that's an issue. It's clickbait. It's like filler segment for Vaush. And I know that it upsets you. I get it. I get upset too. The reason why I get triggered is because people don't want to believe that there's a literacy problem in the United States. Let's say it can't possibly be true. I disagree. I think that functional literacy.
Hang on. Who has ever said there's not a literacy problem in the United States? It's like a meme. Of course,
when I bring that up with people, at work, friends, they say that's not true. You're lying. You're too negative. That can't be true. And these are educated people.
At the accounting office.
It's not an accounting office, but whatever. But
okay.
Educated people that have their master's degrees, people that have degrees in history, and then and they get jobs somewhere else, right? Like a lot of times when you have a history degree, and they'll say, "I don't believe you," and then you look at some stats come out from the National Institute of Education Studies or something like how it is, and they talk about how from 16 to 59 or whatever adults, they say that basically 20. It's basically divided in quintiles. Like there's 20% can't read, 20% are like functionally illiterate, and then like from then on you have like basic functionality. And you see an example of the kind of questions they give on these tests to determine, which is important to look at. What kind of questions are they asking to gauge literacy? I think that's important. What is it? It's
I'm not contesting any of this. I don't know where you're going with this.
Oh, I'm just saying that like, for me, what I care about is lighting a fire under people saying that the school system is not treating the kids right and is not doing a good enough job to make these kids, one, want to learn, and two, actually learn. And when she talks about like they don't have critical thinking skills, and then they don't even have basic thinking skills, that's another thing because one.
Wait a minute, hang on, slow down, cowboy. So are you blaming the teachers now?
Of course.
Why? I'm not blaming the teachers.
I blame everyone. The teachers are part of it too. They're treated as like blameless, like they can never do anything wrong, like they should never be graded on like their performance.
The teachers are, just to be clear, if we're talking about the public school system, the teachers are understaffed, they are underpaid, they are forced to perform the curriculum that the school gives them. They don't it's not like in university where professors can like, and not even all the time in university, by the way, but professors can like, change their curriculum based on their particular teaching strategy.
Correct. But they
so why would you blame the teacher?
I'm not blaming anyone entirely. I'm saying they're part of the problem too. The blame is all around.
But how are they part of the problem? That makes them. I don't see how they're blameworthy at all.
The teachers?
Yeah.
Well, some of them. Well, if
look, no, don't get me wrong. If you got a teacher who just has no passion for the job, is just doing it for money, and is an asshole who doesn't teach their kids properly, fair enough. But we were talking about teachers as a category. I don't know why you would blame teachers at all, especially when you have all of these other things that would account for the failure of those outcomes, right?
Well, the impression I got from your segment was that you're talking about the fishing trip and the guy made it interesting. And so therefore you're saying this woman essentially is not making, this teacher is not making her classes interesting to get these kids to want to learn about, was it government, AP government, or not AP government, it's regular government, right?
Possibly, so but just to be clear, she is not at fault. She is not at fault for the curriculum that she's being forced to teach being boring, and she's not at fault. And she is not at fault. No, but she is also not at fault for not making it interesting. She is at fault.
No, I think she is at fault.
No, she's
not making it interesting.
No, she's not.
You can have charisma and like make it interesting. I believe that I want to believe that kids can find just about everything at school interesting if somebody places it in the right way. I understand that not everything is everyone's cup of tea, but
it's not her fault.
I wouldn't expect 98% of people to not find it.
It's not her fault. She was trained in an institution to be a teacher. She was trained to go teach a curriculum. She does that. That's not her fault. She's at fault for exactly one thing. She's at fault for exactly one thing, and that is going on TikTok, exposing her face, thereby exposing to her students who is being talked about, and saying, "Look, guys, the kids are dumb." The kids are just they're just stupid. Look at these stupid kids. Look at the stupid things these kids write. They're so dumb. That's what she's at fault for.
Yeah, well, if you had led with that and said that she's not at fault, she's doing this stupidly, but the kid's not finding it interesting is not her fault and it's not their fault, then I wouldn't have been in the chat chirping as much. But you made it seem primarily criticism of her before you even got to
it is primarily a criticism of her, but that's because she was blaming the kids. Okay.
Well, I think that the kids...
Because what I'm pointing out is that if that teacher, and it's not her fault if she is that boring, but if that teacher was not that boring, if that teacher had the individual capacity and the wit, which she clearly doesn't because she can't tell a joke, to make a subject even remotely tangentially gripping for anyone in that class, they would pay attention.
Yeah, and then she sucks because like that's what I'm saying. So that's where you can criticize the teacher.
But if she couldn't, if she was just trying her
Yeah.
best, that
Yeah.
wouldn't be her fault. That would
Well,
be the fault. That would be
well-
the fault of the institution that trained her. That would be the fault
Do you
of the
think she
curriculum that
tries
she's
her
given.
best?
Maybe it's beyond anyone's capacity to make interesting. My AP literature teacher in high school, he probably had a bit more leeway than the standard literature teacher in that high school.
Yeah, AP classes are kind of a blow off because you get basically they don't treat you like you're remedial.
Yeah.
From the get go,
Mhm.
right? I mean, I'm sure. Like I took the AP biology test. I never took the course. You just some of these teachers, if you act like you're hyper competent or something, they disagree with you and let you get away with more shit.
Mhm.
But if you're like in a lower level class, they treat you like you're garbage. Yeah, I 100% agree with you. But it's still her fault if she's not trying her best, which I don't think she is. It was based on what I'm
Judging
seeing.
by
Maybe
her
I'm
attitude
wrong.
towards her class, I'm not going to give her any benefits of the doubt, but that's my point.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No. Okay. But like, so I guess I don't disagree with you. I just want people to see that there is a problem with like school system in general and literacy. And I don't think it's all just like socioeconomic factors. There's other shit at play.
It is entirely
I don't think it's
socioeconomic
just
factors.
nutrition.
It is entirely socioeconomic factors.
No,
Socio-
that can't possibly be
Socioeconomic
true.
factors determine the time parents can spend with their kids. It determines the resources available to kids to help them to learn. It determines the quality of life, the amount of exhaustion, the amount of space that they have to deal with.
So 98% of them have
Everything.
that bad.
Here's the
factor?
problem. No.
I-
You seem to have this notion, and I understand it because I came from that background too. You seem to have this notion that socioeconomic is some weird esoteric side thing and not literally fucking everything. As if
it's a shortcut to
economics
everything. I get it.
economics isn't literally like the distribution of every single resource, period. Right? Like that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the relationship between how a society functions and the distribution of goods that makes people do and not do certain things. What they have access to, what tools they have,
Right.
how much time they have, and so on and so forth. That's
Well, we need to know-
everything.
We need to know where she is then and what school she's at. Because if she's not at a extremely horrible school in like the most impoverished area of the United States, then there's something wrong. Because it can't be 98% of them are,
You know what?
going to-
Hey, you know what? I'll grant that. If she's in like a super, if she's in like a
Beverly Hills.
super opulent state, okay, city or whatever, and she's at like a super she's at a school in an expensive city that's well funded, and there's just a bunch of rich people who are just locking their kids in their basements with a cell phone, and it's all there. Okay, you know what? Fair
The
enough.
Roblox, yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Sure, why not? But I don't think
Yeah,
that's the
I think-
case.
But I understand your point. You can bring up, hey, socioeconomic factors. That could determine a lot of this if the kids are starving. But I don't think you can just blanket accept that's the whole reason for this and that there isn't something else at play. And I know you're going to say that
When you're
you
talking
understand
about
other things at play.
when you're talking about kids, you are specifically talking about what resources are available to them. Period.
Well, no, kids are, we're talking about 8th grade. They're like 12 or 13, right? At that point, they are able to like understand that even if shit's bad, they have to perform at school because if
Really?
they don't, they're end up dead or
Because
on
what
drugs.
this lady
Yeah.
said is that they don't understand cause and effect.
Well,
You see the
well,
contradiction.
In that case, then I think the cause and effect is maybe I'd have to understand exactly what she means by that. Because does she mean like the cause being that they don't do their homework, and effect being bad grades, or does she mean like reading a text and being like, I can't understand why so and so did this? Based
She is
on
taking,
her motivations
judging from
earlier.
what she has said, she is taking their failure to engage productively with the assignments as evidence that they cannot think.
Well, I think learning how to think is a skill, and it's not always taught. And
those
knowing how to
kids
ask the right
can think. Those
questions.
kids can think.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that like there's no way that they're just vegetables, right?
Learning how to think critically is a skill. As soon as you, at the point, bluntly, where you have someone who is capable of ironically repeating back an assignment to the teacher because of a grammatical quirk that they have identified, the issue is not literacy. The issue is engagement.
That's just trolling. Or they're
That's
trolling.
trolling.
Yeah, I mean,
that's trolling
yes.
that requires the
Yes.
ability to cognize the meaning of the sentence.
And
Maybe they're
kid should be
abysmal at
passed.
every other element of that class, but they are not illiterate when they are doing that.
They're not all. No, they're fucking with the teacher. That's just trolling. I understand that. I mean, so that is where I'm not sure if
They're fucking with the
she's
teacher.
not smart enough to understand.
They're fucking
that.
with the teacher.
They're fucking with the teacher.
Using
Yeah, but see, that's the other thing.
using their writing.
Well, why would you want to take a bad grade to fuck with the teacher? I don't understand.
Because you're not invested in the class and you have no hope for the future.
Well, if you don't have any hope for the future and you don't want to like graduate school or whatever, or get a bad grade or whatever, I get that. I suppose that's pretty terrible. But most of the people that I'm with, and I grew up in like an immigrant community, would never do that. They know that they fucking perform.
You
So,
think
I don't know where they
hang
are.
on, slow down, cowboy. So you think immigrant students don't fuck with their teachers ever? That's not a thing that
I think they're all perfect angels. I don't know. This is people I
you
grew
think
up with.
you think, just to be clear, you think that immigrant students are that's what you're implying, isn't it? That they know.
No, they got their priorities right. They know that they have to do well in school, no matter what else is going on. They never just take a bad grade for no reason to troll the teacher. They wouldn't do that.
Okay, the problem though is that you're wrong and they do.
Okay, well, I mean, I suppose so, but I'm just generalizing. I just don't think that they would do that. That's where it's like, maybe she's trying to get a cause and effect. They don't understand the seriousness of the consequences of them doing badly at school. Maybe that's the case. And I don't know how you can get I don't know how you can make people want to care if they don't care. Yeah, maybe they have no hope for the future, I guess. I don't know why. It doesn't take anything of you to do your fucking
Yeah,
like,
it does.
homework.
Takes attention. When you are malnourished and you are tired and you are bored, paying attention is painful. That's why
If
Vaush does.
they have attention for-
That's why Vaush, as a wealthy adult, doesn't read.
Well,
It's
I know he
painful.
doesn't read, and he doesn't even want to learn Spanish. And he calls people Latin instead of saying like Latino. I like that. Yes, I understand. That's just like willful ignorance, and I don't have like patience for willful ignorance.
Well, I mean, we've
even
seen
for, like-
evidence in this video so far that he does think often of the Roman Empire. So
Well, I mean, I'm not going to get into his fetishes, but it's just, yeah, that bothers me. That triggers me. It's kind of a side tangent.
I feel like you and I have
wanna say-
very different associations with the phrase Roman Empire. But go on.
What you're saying that he's a? Well, I was thinking about like Caligula or something like, and like making a senator, a pig a senator or something, and I don't know. Or are you talking-
I
no, are you talking-
gotta talk to Brooks. Any final words?
You know, I do like you. I hope you do well. Hope you stream more. McMad says hello. That's
I
it.
love you too. Good night.
Goodbye forever.
I'm just realizing how sick I am still. Oh my god. Hello. You're muted, Brooks.
How you doing Sunday? How you having fun?
I
Having
am
a good
so
time?
I am so tired. My face is like drooping. I am actually like it is tiring to smile. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm trying to so there's a lot that's wrong about everything you're saying, and I'm trying to come about it in a really constructive way, but it's
Okay.
kind of difficult.
Just
We'll start at the basic thing.
Okay.
Like literacy isn't just the ability to read.
I
That's
agree.
it's a very specific thing in pedagogy and also statistics.
Mhm.
It has to do with the way that we utilize the tool that is given us.
I agree.
So if a child, do you know the difference? Well, please explain it to me.
The difference is conversance with the terms of whatever it is that you're talking about, or with a language, or with language conventions, or whatever,
Nope.
versus simply being able to repeat like the written word or the vocalization.
That's critical reading. That's not literacy. Numeracy is a similar thing. It's not about whether or not someone knows algebra or has a complex understanding of calculus. It has to do with decoding the codes in front of you. It tends to be how people talk about it. So you and I, for example, we're fortunate. We're probably in what is generally termed the advanced reading. There's advanced, proficient, basic, and then non.
According to,
below.
if I may, according
to American education system,
according to Cornell, the term literacy means an individual's ability to read, write, and speak in English, compute, and solve problems at levels of proficiency necessary to function in the job and the family.
That's great. I understand that there's a dictionary definition. I'm talking about the way that it's talked about in pedagogy. Like, it's not just a black and white term. And there's a reason for this. People who are what we would call illiterate or have trouble with it, which makes up 60% of Americans, by the way, have what is generally called a basic literacy.
Okay.
Basic literacy means that they are able to eventually figure out what the words are on the page. This is different than proficient or advanced, which, again, you and I are advanced. When we're reading, we're able to go word, 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 and we just go straight through. We don't actually actually look at the words. Very often we don't look at the words. We're not aware of the word we're looking at. Someone who is in basic literacy is extremely aware of the word they're looking at. For example, someone who is dyslexic, for example, has to really concentrate and look at the word and spend time on trying to figure out what it is. I mention that because if there is a fundamental thing that's wrong with America, Canada also, but certainly America, it is the way that we've been teaching reading for the better part of 30 years here, where we switched from the phonics method, which
I know we've talked about this before. I agree with everything you're saying. Here's the problem. The example that she poses is a student writing on the paper what the instructor just said, because the instructor said, write down what the instructor just said. Right. So that student is not suffering from the problem that you're describing. That student is literate.
Yes, they probably are, actually.
No, that student is literate.
Okay.
That student,
basic literacy, sure.
That student understands what the words mean. That student is capable of a witticism using what the words mean.
That is not what we're talking. That's not, again, literacy. You can talk to someone who's illiterate. They understand what words
This
mean.
is written.
Yes. And if they're able to figure out what the words are and understand what they mean, it doesn't mean that they have literacy at any proficient level. That means that they were able to divine the word through one method or another.
They didn't divine the word. They wrote a response silently on their paper.
Okay.
Okay, so the teacher saying her students have no concept of cause and effect.
Right. Now you're on another thing. I'm talking about the way that this impinges and builds into the larger problem with the school system, which is what you're getting at. But there's an error being made. When kids, and we're talking about, again, 70 to 80% of kids in 4th grade or below are under proficient reading, which means that they actually hunt and peck, which is the 3 cueing method of reading. When kids learn this method, what happens is reading is not enjoyable. Reading doesn't breed curiosity. It's not a system to be played with. It's a thing placed in front and a very difficult, tiring puzzle to solve. So kids in these systems tend to be exceptionally frustrated when given any semblance of a written test or any sort of reading thing, because reading is not a thing that's enjoyable to someone who didn't learn how to read at a proficient or above level. It's just simply not enjoyable. And so kids, and again, I can send studies. This is a thing that they've learned in multiple countries, have made the shift. And there's a reason this is important, is kids who have that skill actually find themselves able to learn more easy. In fact, they seek out books. They seek out things to read because reading isn't a nightmare. It would be this. Reading is no different than running or playing baseball. If you don't have that skill, being forced to do it every day is frustration, nightmare, and you find ways to get out of it and to do those things. There's no difference. Reading is not different in this way.
Okay, I'm sorry, and maybe this is just because I'm tired. What part of this is objecting to what I'm saying here?
Because there's a few things. The first is the couple of statements you made that had to do with specifically that this kid was bored because teachers or this or that or the other. This is not a studies have actually shown it's not necessarily a poverty issue. There's a large discussion to have there. But the thing is, it's not really the teachers either. The curriculum that is being put in place, which was put in place specifically because of capitalist interests.
if I may, why would you prematurely disambiguate it as not a poverty issue when the poverty issue has not been addressed? It would be both then, right? You would still be a poverty issue.
It is still playing into that, but the fun part is the poor school systems that weren't able to do 3 queuing because they weren't able to pay into the systems have shown larger turnarounds as they've moved to phonics. So we've actually seen major shifts in terms of reading ability, and wealthier areas are not having success, whereas Mississippi made massive gains in especially its poorest areas because they moved to phonics. There's more complex things happening here, is more my point. And the curriculum specifically is putting kids in a position where not only are teachers unaware of how to teach, but secondarily, kids don't have the tools to actually engage at a fundamental level with just reading.
Okay, but if I may though, like what this leads me to is, so there's a complex here where, by the way, in addition to the known impacts of poverty on educational outcomes, students are also being fucked at an early stage because they're being taught to write wrong in a lot of schools. None of this though but if I may though,
it's actually primarily a thing that's happening in non-poor schools right now. That's my point. Because the underlying things that are happening here is more complex.
Okay, sure. But now what are the outcomes like in the poor schools generally? Are they just doing great then? General, is everybody doing great in those? Like what's the deal?
Well, again, the schools actually tend to have less of an impact than the direct zip code that the child lives in. So the schools aren't really the thing, not necessarily. It tends to be the zip code and the parents and what the parents are able to do with them. So the poverty and everything that goes into their longer system, sure. But we also have in those wealthier things, the same 60 to 70% of illiterate people that are going into colleges and having better outcomes. They're not functional either, not at a level we're talking about. So underneath it, when we talk about, and this is why it's frustrating to hear people have this conversation, whether it's Vaush, this shitty teacher, whatever the fuck that was, and people railing against it. The problem is very particularly the way we go about this. And
listen, this is where you lose me. The problem is complex. It's not just like, the problem is this because this is the thing that we've pinpointed.
Reading is actually pretty simple. Reading is actually pretty simple. Phonics as a general method works. And it leads to better outcomes of reading.
But engagement in an 8th grade history class is different.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It's born of the exact same thing. If a child doesn't have the ability to read efficiently, they're not going to find an 8th grade history class enjoyable, interesting, a thing they can engage in meaningfully, and they will do this. That's how it works. That's how teaching has worked and been talked about and studied for 50, 60 years. Kids who can't engage and are problem children, as they've been talked about, quote unquote.
Jemt says these kids are being taught phonics.
These kids are not being taught phonics.
How do we know?
What the fuck are you talking about?
I want to know how Jemt knows this. Why do you think they're being taught phonics? Doesn't matter for the argument. I didn't know that, but why do you think so? Like, the teacher is not demonstrating that these students could not read the assignments or understand the assignments. The teacher is demonstrating that they are not engaging with the assignments. And you can have very literate kids who are zoned out and are just disengaged because they're kids and they move back towards phonics in schools. But Jesus universally, Christ. is that so? Like in the amount of, like, in the time that they would have been going from like kindergarten to 8th grade? Because I think that would have been, this is 8th grade. They would have been in school for 9 years, right?
Yep.
Or they would have been in their 9th year.
Yeah, we're talking about the 2012s to 2015s.
Although actually, hang on, wait a minute, slow down. Might actually be, because that would have been 2014 now. Possible. It's possible they were being taught phonics the entire time by this point, depending on where they are.
Again, that's
Okay,
if they're making that change, and it's not a thing that is being seen. Genuinely speaking, these schools, this is happening at a state level. There are schools trying and curriculums trying to make that shift that are actually being pushed back by GOP governors, by wealthy people, by all sorts of things, because they think that this other system is good. Because again, the publishers who make money off of this, because phonics is just teaching what is a pretty natural thing. There's not significant schooling and books behind it. 3Qing is an incredibly expensive system that these companies are able to make a fortune fucking off of. And so, like in California, which I would argue is probably dysfunctional in general, but supposedly forward state, they've been fighting to try to get phonics-based reading in there, and they are being fought every step of the way by these companies. And this is in 2023 and 24. We're not talking about a decade ago. So no, they haven't been switching back to phonics. That's flatly wrong.
Let's see. Where is whole language learning still taught?
Whole language learning. So
isn't that what that's called?
It's one of the lesser used terms, but sure, that's fine. It's probably fine.
And Google is useless. Here we go. Is the whole language learning approach lingering in your classrooms? Yeah, and what this article points out is that, just pop it on the screen, that they're still teaching in college, teachers to teach using whole language learning methods.
And on top of it, teachers who are, fresh out of college, or because again, this is not a 2-year degree to be a teacher. We force teachers to take insane amounts of courses, but when they go out to conferences to learn, when they go to get-togethers, the 3Qing system and the companies behind it have salespeople there that are blending in and are advocating for it. So they're actually talking to kids. This is the best method. This method it's blah, 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 all of this. It's absolutely center.
Well, I think it's just a bachelor's degree plus a year, right? So it's like any program.
I mean, it varies. Sure.
Okay. Because like the actual teaching degree is like a year to 2 years. It's like Daedalus says, I just asked my teacher who made phonics is on the rise in the last couple of years. Yeah, but that's in the last couple of years. These kids have been in school for longer than the last couple of years, right?
Yeah, and phonics being on the rise in the last couple of years, I think speaks volumes about. No, what are you talking about? It's been the thing. Like, no, on the rise is like, oh no, it's not the dominant thing. Again, California, they're fighting it. Wisconsin, they're fighting this. This is
right. Okay,
an insane thing.
So again, though, here's my problem though. Like, there's no disambiguation between like this is the cause of this. It's just the kids are dumb. The kids can't think based off of this, and you cannot make that determination. You cannot make that determination. You cannot make a cognitive assessment of a child based on their engagement in a classroom. It doesn't work that way. You can't do that. It's perfectly possible that you're right, and every single one of these kids was just screwed over because they got whole language learning. It's also perfectly possible that they weren't. It's also perfectly possible that they were just disengaged. It's perfectly possible that they're
okay. Then I would ask, what does disengaged mean, and how does someone just be disengaged?
Well,
as someone who was a severely disengaged student, I would ask, what drives that?
Lack of nutrition, poor socialization, bad home life, the exhaustion that comes from having to walk a distance to go to school because it's not close by or it's nasty out and people can't drive you.
No, these are things you're but again, every kid. So now are you assuming every kid now?
Most kids most kids are in that situation where they are tired and they are not eating very well, because most Americans are tired and not eating very well. Like, the kind of foods that are marketed to kids, generally speaking, are candy. And most parents just kind of go with that. They don't really pay it. And even when they do, it's like, oh, you're going to school having eaten regular Cheerios as opposed to Fruit Loops. So instead of carbs and sucralose, we're giving you carbs.
All right.
I don't know. Like, but like, to me, like, I would want to know, like, what the actual situation of those kids is. And that kid writing that down tells me that kid knows English to a minimal degree. That kid is literate. That joke is not a joke you make if you don't understand the words on the page. That requires like a somewhat clever actually engagement with the language specifically. If it was spoken, sure. But we're talking about it being written. This person wrote it, started the sentence at the point where the instruction cut off. That kid is literate. Just all the evidence that we are presented with, which is admittedly not very much, says literate, not illiterate. Right? Saying the kids can't tell, like,
again,
kids can't understand causation. Illiterate people understand causation.
We're not able to have this discussion if you keep talking about it as a binary. That's it.
But I'm not talking about it.
Right.
I'm not talking about it. I'm not talking about it as a binary. I'm talking about it as a complex.
You literally said, "Are they literate or not?" You just asked me that. That's not the complex.
Well, no, hang on. The teacher's claim is that the kids can't understand causation.
It's one of her claims. Come on. This teacher sucks. She makes a lot of claims about a lot of these kids. Right.
So I don't understand what the point is here. She holds up an assignment that the teacher that the student did that demonstrates engagement with language specifically, but it's because of they weren't being taught phonics that they were joking in class and not taking the assignment seriously.
Again, if you're not going to engage with what I'm talking about,
I am engaging with what you're talking about. It doesn't connect with what I'm saying. Like
it literally does, because the studies show that kids who actually are able to decode language as they read it, where it is proficient or better literacy, are able to engage with things better and actually overall have better experiences and are more curious and active when it comes to reading in general. This is one of the tragedies of the last 30 years across multiple facets of our education system.
I'm agreeing with you. Okay, but the thing she showed was not that. So there are other factors as well that are leading to students not succeeding.
So first off, I
do know that. She showed the assignment.
No, because again, someone being able to
Brooks, listen.
The ability.
No, I am not. No, I am not. Literacy. No, I am not. It is not. No, it is not a conflation between what literacy means to point out that this kid is engaging with language at a decently advanced level.
Literacy.
That literally is literacy, actually.
It's literally not literacy. Literacy is about the written word.
It literally is literacy.
Being able to read.
Yeah, that kid is able to read. They decoded what was said on the page and they made a joke based off of it.
As a binary again, yes.
That's not as a binary. You're insisting on the binary. I'm not insisting on the binary. I'm saying that literacy encompasses a whole range of things. There is a minimum threshold, and that kid's on it. Those were written words. The kid is literate. They engaged with writing. They engaged with English.
That's not how that works. That's just not how that works. This is the frustrating part. This is not how that works. The ability to eventually come to what the words are and to be able to understand them is basic literacy. Sure, but that's not literate. It's not the same thing. It's failing.
Okay, what's missing there? What's the kid missing?
What can the kid not do? The ability to efficiently decode the words that they're looking at. Numeracy.
The kid did that. That's how they made the joke.
No, he did that by being able to understand what words are there. That's not the same as having proficient literacy.
They didn't just understand what words were there. They understood the instruction. They understood how to turn the instruction on its head and make fun of its intent, thereby demonstrating they could discern its intent. They are literate, highly literate.
No, I mean, again, that's not how that works. And it's really frustrating to hear this coming from you.
That is literally how literacy works. That is literally how literacy works. 100%.
You're free to go talk to people who study and work in education and ask them if there's a difference, and they will tell you what the difference between Bell Hooks.
She's dead. Can we recommend someone living that you've talked to?
No, go read her. Go read her. She talks about this shit. This is not a new thing. It's been going for 50 fucking years. The ability for us to proudly look at children and go, see, look, they're able to read is not the same thing as being literate. It's when we have kids who can do math.
No,
1 plus 1,
hang on.
or
Wait,
seeing
wait.
1 plus 1 is 2.
Hang on. I agree, but the level we are talking about here is she is making the claim they cannot comprehend the words or sentences on the page. They clearly can, based on the assignment she's showing as evidence of this. The kind of literacy she is talking about is the threshold that the student she uses as an example is meeting. We're not talking about, are they historians? Are they conversant with the literature? We're talking about, can they follow simple assignments? That's what she's complaining about. They cannot follow simple assignments. That's why she goes from there to, they can't understand cause and effect. They have the cognition of a dog. She's less than a dog.
She's a trash. I'm not trying to defend the teacher here.
I know you're not.
Teacher sucks.
I know you're not. But what the teacher said is the kind of literacy that I am talking about when I am discussing this. We are talking about, can they read
here's the thing.
Instructions?
Look, but here's the thing. Let me finish through this, because this is the important distinction between being able to read and find out what the words are and be able to understand a sentence versus being literate. There is a huge difference when it comes to how these tests are scored and how we discern them. And it's actually really important to these discussions globally.
Okay, I agree. So,
someone looks at letters on a page, right? That's how reading starts for everybody, right?
Sure.
No.
Was that a trick question? Is it not actually?
No,
based
I'm asking.
Sure.
I'm making sure we're on the same page, Sunday.
Yes.
Okay. When someone engages with what is written, the letters that are written there, the process of decoding what those letters are specifically and turning them into meaning, that process can go proficiently or basically. Proficient is where someone can just read through the sentence and they're able to understand and cognize the meaning. Basic is where someone has to spend a moment, go back, look at clues, context, and be able to figure out what the words were. They can still figure out what the words were. The cartoonish version of someone who is wholly illiterate, who can't figure out at all what's written there, is not what the problem with literacy is. It's the difference between those two and the amount of frustration and effort it takes to read a sentence or 2 sentences or 5 sentences.
Okay.
That's the difference. When someone engages with text as a basic proficient versus as a basic literate versus a proficient literate, as they go through and they read sentences or anything else, the ability for them to actually respond realistically, the ability for them to deal with this is actually in jeopardy every step of the way if they only have basic literacy.
Okay, sure. So, this student who responded to the instructions and made a joke based on the inferred intent of the instructions because they could read it and make inferences about what the teacher was trying to do with that sentence. Was that student on the basis of that? Was that student struggling to understand the words? Was that student struggling to understand the instructions? Or were they making a joke based on their ability to understand the instructions and then being able to have fun with it? Because you know what I would expect, honestly? If the kid couldn't write that down, I wouldn't expect a joke based off the written instructions. I would expect total non-engagement or a nonsense response. But we didn't get that. We got engagement with the writ. Engagement with language at a complex way. Humor, joking using English is not basic. Joking using English is complicated. This teacher couldn't even get that. This teacher, in all seriousness, this teacher who has a degree.
Okay.
I'm
not saying that the kid is like
no, but the teacher.
needs.
But listen to me. The teacher is educated and highly literate because educated, has a degree. The student has a more advanced engagement with the language of the assignment than the teacher does. The teacher can't get a literary joke. I'm not saying like every other student in that class could be exactly what you're describing. What this teacher is describing and the evidence that she is providing to back it up doesn't wash.
Okay.
So, okay.
We're fundamentally not meeting on this, and that's fine.
I know.
That's fine.
Like I'm not disagreeing with anything that you're saying here. It's just like that has no bearing on this because this teacher is not making a claim about the student's literacy. She's making a claim about the student's cognition.
And you're claiming that you know the student better than her. I understand this.
Yes, actually I am.
Sure. Again, not the point. And I'm just going to, again, the fundamental problems I've got here, they're huge, but it's fine. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
All right. Have fun.
Take it easy. What do you want? You're muted. Wern.
Yeah.
How you doing?
So, I guess my problem with
oh my God, you were loud. 1 second.
What?
Let me balance this.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I don't know why it's so loud.
Oh, it's not on my end?
It shouldn't be on your. I think it's on my end. Just Discord's loud. Go on.
Yeah, so I guess my problem with, like, it's not just literacy. This teacher is complaining about things to do with cause and effect and stuff. I think that ultimately comes down to education in logic, right? And that seems like a curriculum problem.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the point that's generally being made is that it's not an issue with the curriculum of this particular class. It's an issue with the curriculum early on that teaches students very badly how to engage with English. So they are frustrated
Right.
and they are like they have toxic associations with reading, and so they don't self-teach afterwards, and they're not really taught in school at all. So they get to 8th grade because they're not failed. When they fail, and they can't engage with the assignment, right? I think that's the argument that's being made.
No, I agree with that, but like what's being argued about, what the complaint is being made, it's not really about reading.
Mm-hmm.
It's about logic. So like the question is, do they teach logic?
No, I don't think so. But I don't think the issue here is with logic, because I think the issue here is just with engagement with written English, right? That's the issue here. Yeah. So like the issue I'm taking with the teacher here is that the teacher is showing like clear evidence that this student that she's holding up as an example of the idiocy of her classroom is not engaging positively with the assignment, but is engaging literately with the text of the assignment.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're able to read the assignment.
Yeah.
Certainly. Yeah, that's all I had to say. I just wanted to point out that this is like a logic problem also. I don't know. I mean, I guess I was also never taught logic in school. I was taught it by my dad, but
I've never seen.
guess-
I've never heard of an elementary or middle school teaching logic. That's usually I can imagine it being like like maybe an elective if they offer electives at some high schools, but generally I think that's a university thing. It should be an earlier thing, but I've never I've certainly never heard of a university here that teaches logic.
Okay.
Ah.
Okay.
Anything else, or are you all good? Oh, and they're gone. Okay.
Changed that much. You know what hasn't changed? The American educational system. That shit has stayed the same for like 100 years. Okay. Okay, it's not any of that.
The American education system has stayed the same for 100 years, guys. Just put that in your pipe and smoke it, Brooks.
There's one big change from between now and 20 years ago that might be affecting the cognitive abilities of young people. And we need to grow up and acknowledge this, you know?
What is it, Vaush?
On their time off?
But what is it? What are you talking about?
Years, okay? It's not any of that. I think, but we do know one thing that's changed in the past 20 years. One thing for sure. I don't think
Immigration? What's the argument, Vaush? Cell phones? Is it cell phones?
the human condition has changed that much. You know what hasn't changed? The American educational system. That
It's changed insanely, though.
shit has stayed the same for like 100 years, okay? It's not any of that.
The American education system has been the same for 100 years, guys.
There's one big change from between now and 20 years ago that might be affecting the cognitive abilities of young people. And
He ain't talking about what Brooks is talking about.
we need to grow up and acknowledge this, you know?
On their time off? They genuinely want to bring their grade up. I know them. But, like, is that what you think that the extra credit assignment was? You sat there and thought, like, yeah, she wants me to copy down the direction.
No. They don't want to do the assignment, and they're making fun of you.
This is leaking to university. Yeah, I mean, at this point, bachelor's degrees are basically just like continued daycare for useless non-adult 20, you know,
Most students work, actually, while they're useless, non-adult 20-somethings in university, just by the by.
18 to 21-year-olds.
They're useless, but they're working to pay their way through. They are literally being made use of. They're literally being exploited because they are useful.
But yeah, the trend will continue, okay? The illiteracy will continue until civilization ends. Thank you.
Jesus Christ.
And then turn it in. But no, they didn't think that.
How do you know? Show me paper 2 that demonstrates what they thought.
Because they didn't think anything.
Ah, of course. They didn't think anything. There's an argument to be made against the education system on the basis of this alone, and it's not against child literacy. This person should not have been given a degree.
These kids have a frightening ability for information to go from their eyes to their hands and not pass through the brain at all.
That would be frightening, actually. That would actually be impossible.
Like, what do we do, y'all?
That's pretty
That
bad.
ship is sailing across the ocean and there is no one at the wheel.
That might be a bit of a self-report, madam. Yeah, her students are just zombies, guys. That's the problem with the American school system. The kids are zombies. For no reason. They're just zombies. They're just like that. They're just like that now. They're zombies because they weren't taught phonics.
They made TikTok videos pretty long, huh? Seriously, go on the teachers Reddit. You know, it's pretty grim. They have banned social media for 16s and unders over in Australia.
It's like if I trace a picture. You do not trace a picture without any cognition or any engagement with the picture and make a joke out of the picture. That requires deliberation and deliberate and, to a minimal degree, skillful manipulation of the medium. You also, by the way, learn very well by tracing, but
I don't know the details.
I don't buy your joke, BS. You misspelled, use the wrong your. There shouldn't be a... Google that.
Details of the law. I'm sure it's Australia and they're a fucking nanny state, so I'm sure they're fucking it up somehow. But conceptually, it's probably pretty good. Pretty good idea.
Now you can ignore the argument. I can, but it was also a bad argument.
Yeah, but it's not just social media that young people need to be kicked off of. Okay, they need to be. They just shouldn't have the internet. The children are cooked.
You could talk less. You should call in. I really want to hear you.
What is this?
Everybody needs to know that slaves did not get paid.
No, they didn't.
No, they did not.
These are like 5-year-olds. I don't know what to make of this. It's like 5-year-olds.
Well, beginning today, kids under the age of 16 in Australia are being forced.
Also, slaves in some places were paid. Not in America, but historically. Like, for example, hypothetically, let's say you were talking about, like, biblical slaves. There are slaves that were paid. There are slaves that could buy their freedom under certain social conditions. Not in the American slave trade, different entity, but historically, yeah. And kids, for example, whose parents go to church, maybe they're religious or whatever, they would encounter descriptions by Sunday school teachers and by pastors of slaves who were present Sunday slaves in the South were paid to fight. Well, there you go. How about that? Sure, why not? That's not for being slaves though. That's being paid to fight. Right, that's different. You're not talking about the same thing there, I think. Not my area of expertise. So if somebody has like a particular case that they're talking about, maybe, but you're talking about a different animal when you're talking about slavery in Rome or like a Greek city or something. Versus or like Old Testament stuff versus transatlantic slave trade. Those are different things. Slaves are not paid for their expected work as slaves, but some did work on their Sundays, non-work days for side cash. Yeah, but that's not being paid for being a slave though, right? But like I can see like under certain social situations like I don't know. I can it happens. But generally speaking, when you look at like accounts of slavery in the United States, you are not talking about slaves being paid basically ever.
Off social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram. Here's the complete list. Australia's ban for young users went into effect a few hours ago, making it the first country to set a minimum age for the legal access to top popular platforms.
Yeah, lawmakers.
We do need to force kids to read. Yeah, we literally used to do that. It was called English class in school. Apparently,
Jesus H. Christ.
In DC, they're removing books from the curriculum for 8th graders. For their schools. They're saying like, well, no, 8th grade.
At Thephysics Gamer 123 super chatted $5. Sunday's getting paid to be a slave right now.
I'm not, but you know, there are moments.
Readers don't need to read full books anymore. Fucking what?
Wait, what?
School. Apparently in DC, they're removing books from the curriculum for 8th graders. For their schools. They're saying like, well, no, 8th graders don't need to read full books anymore. Fucking what?
I don't remember ever having to read a full book in school. Not unless they were real short.
They want to protect children's well-being, and their efforts are backed by research showing that too much screen time does more harm than good.
Like I don't know where this is coming from. When I was in advanced literature, okay, this is like as hard as English gets. you would have, they would have like textbooks that you read little excerpts from. You never read a whole book. We had to read whole books in school. Yeah, but what kind of books here? What are we talking about? And whole plays? Whole plays don't count. Plays are short. Plays are real short. A play is meant to be played literally on a single night.
Countries are expected to bring in their own regulations.
Yeah,
I doubt you were reading Faust.
The new curriculum removes full-length novels for 8th graders.
Yeah, but these are 8th grade novels, so these are like what is that?
Graders. These kids are 13. The new curriculum removes all full-length novels in the 8th grade curriculum. Previously, Dale...
No, To Kill a Mockingbird, there you go.
8th graders read challenging and thoughtful novels like To Kill a Mockingbird. The rationale for this change is the old curriculum was cobbled together through trial and error by Dale's English teachers, and the new curriculum, which focuses on short passages, will be better prepare the students for high school.
I don't see anything wrong with that intrinsically. It depends on how they do it. It depends on how they do it. Bluntly.
I heard a 16-year-old-ish girl in a Newbery comic say, "Oh, I can't read chapter books" to her friend.
I'm sorry, Vaush, are you laughing at someone for saying they can't read chapter books? What's your Goodreads for last year, Vaush? I'm a little curious. You're rich. You got endless free time. What's your good? Can you post that, please? I want to see your book reviews. I want to see what you've been going at.
Yeah, I'm in 12th grade, and instead of reading Romeo and Juliet, we got an abbreviated 13.
Like, I don't disagree with this, actually. I don't disagree with having excerpts and shorter passages as a focus. It depends on how they're being taught, what level of analysis they're being taught, and so on. I don't disagree. It depends, and I don't have a lot of faith in what they're doing. It's probably bad, because it's always bad. But, like, what?
Substitute? What? Wait,
what?
Jeroen, real? Are you fucking serious? Romeo and Juliet isn't even that long. Oh my god, man. This has been happening for a little bit. A lot of people have been pushing the idea that in school kids should only read practical texts that they will actually encounter in real life. Yeah, this is the industrial argument for schooling. It's been around since the mid-1800s.
I don't personally think Romeo and Juliet, frankly, is great for 8th graders, to be honest with you. I don't think 8th graders are at a point where they're going to be getting anything out of it. An 8th grader would probably get more out of the Wishbone version of Romeo and Juliet. I don't know why you would assume, because, like, I'm sorry, Shakespeare's not, like, children material. Shakespeare's not, like, introductory material. Shakespeare's really fucking advanced. You can do it, but, like, what is the goal here? Is the goal here, like, critical reading skills, or is the goal here some kind of, like, cultural conversance? Because these are different things.
The idea is that essentially public education should just be state subsidized job training for prole jobs.
Like 8th grade is what? 8th grade is like, how old are you then? You've got to be like these are very young kids
that you get as soon as you graduate. Why not have why read books when you could get started early on watching Amazon warehouse training modules? You know?
Yeah, like 13 to 14, like it's weird. And like you probably remember reading Shakespeare in 8th grade if you did. It was a weird, awkward, uncomfortable, not very interesting experience. You didn't get very much out of it. I'd rather, like, have them watch the play performed.
This has always been the industrial argument for education. You don't need to engage with art.
I read Othello on my own around 11th grade on my own. Yeah, but that doesn't count. Othello's the cool one.
Your job is to read...
Everyone likes Othello. I liked Othello. I liked Othello in 6th grade, actually.
Well enough to work a ledger, you know? We're getting back to it. Studies at the moment point
7th grade
towards a collapse in early
6th grade was a wash.
childhood parenting with regards to reading and showing books to infants. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cyclical, right? Because at this point, young parents have also grown up with the internet. Their attention spans are also fried. They have.
Just as an aside here, we do not know enough about how any of this works to declare that people's minds are just ruined and their attention spans are irrevocably destroyed by the internet being there and by them having been raised in a certain time period. It's just gone. We don't know that, and I wish people would stop saying this. Like, people think there's just like people like monks in some big institution somewhere. They're just constantly like trying to figure out, oh shoot, we're just testing. We're just testing people over and over again to find out if their attention spans can be reversed, and we just can't. We can't, doctor. It's not. Nobody's doing that. It's like when people talk about marketing, like it's a science or something. Like they think that there's just like marketers somewhere, like scholastic, like medieval scholastics, just nothing. They do nothing all day. They just study the data. It's like no, that doesn't happen.
Haven't read, so why would they read to their kids? The cycle is broken. You know, the chain has been pulled taut.
On social media in the near future. CNN's Angus Watson is in Sydney following more reaction and a lawsuit.
I like how horny Romeo and Juliet is. She is 14. You shut up.
Challenging this massive cultural change for Australia.
I mean, me personally, I would. That's probably like merits some consideration here. Just to be clear, Vaush is very, very upset about them taking out the play where the 14-year-old is groomed and elopes. I'm just saying.
At Serenadum super chatted $5. Vaush's whole argument is that it's not the same as when he was a kid, so it's bad now. It's also coincidentally probably the last time he read a book.
Possible. You can get through college without reading a book. Easily. Very easily. They can't test you on knowledge of entire books. If you're in sociology, you're largely referencing studies in sociology classes. You're not typically reading big books in sociology because most of that material that is talked about is actually in the form of smaller articles. In my degree in political science, you take 3 courses. It used to be 1 year-long course. You take 3 courses. You have to take 2 out of 3. It's optional. Actually, I think it's only 1 out of 3. It's 1 or 2. Let's say 2, just to be conservative. You have to take 2 out of 3 courses, in which one of them you have to read ancient and medieval political philosophy. Just a 1,000 or so time period, not very broad. So you do Plato's Republic, maybe Aristotle's Politics, and God knows what else. Something Catholic, maybe the Pizan thing, I can't remember what it's called. Something City of Ladies, never read it. And then you do early modern, and you can do Machiavelli, Hobbes. I think they do Rousseau there. That might be the later modern one. I can't remember. And then the modern one is I think for me it started Rousseau, then Kant. I think we skipped Hegel, and then just like John Stuart Mill and Gandhi for some reason in the last 2 weeks. And there is no way to actually test your knowledge on any of those books in their totality because they are huge. I mean, Rousseau's not, but Rousseau's complicated and also responding to people like Hobbes and whatnot. And you can pick focuses. So you can do an entire paper just on Thomas Hobbes' notion of memory, or his relation, or his notion of like, hey, does Thomas Hobbes think that a monarchy is better than a democracy or something like that? You can just write an argument about that as your paper. And you probably need to read like a fifth of Leviathan to get that much information, if even. Because you can just go on Wikipedia and get that information pretty easily regardless. There are people who are going through university right now who have never read a single book in their lives, and they are doing okay. Not in terms of like their educational outcomes, like actually they don't know very much, they're very dumb, but their grades are fine.
At Smith Black 5945 super chatted $6. Aside from self-help books, do most people actually completely read non-fiction books?
Nope, they do not. I mean, to be fair, I don't either. There's a lot of non-fiction books. I read large parts of a lot of nonfiction books. I read like a lot. I read a lot more whole books than most people do. But like, it depends. There's also like, are we talking about like intent? As in like they actually intend to like carry out reading the whole text, or and just fail to do so, or they just not? They're just like, I'm just getting the thing I need and I'm out. Like you can tell in advance of actually reading the whole thing what its meaning even is. In my opinion, nonfiction is easier to read than fiction. Maybe if you're trying to read like Finnegan's Wake, but generally speaking, I think it's a lot easier to read fiction than nonfiction.
Teenagers Noah and Macy are taking their government to court in a fight to stay on social media.
Taking away how we communicate to the world, this is how we do it. It's the modern day, it's social media.
From Wednesday, Australia will enforce a world-first law banning children under 16 from many of the biggest...
Yeah, I think that's preposterous. I think silencing people under 16 and not giving them access to the news, not giving them access to, online literature, not giving them access to, like, I think that's silly. That's silly.
Platforms.
Also, good luck policing that, but that's silly.
Supported by a freedom advocacy group, Macy and Noah's case asserts a right to...
supported by... Okay, so yeah, it's obvious. Like, obviously, it's not actually them. It's a corporate lobby.
Of course, Vaush follows Sky News. He might have just been censored by somebody.
That pushes for deregulation. That's using them as a vessel for challenging the law. Of course, so it's always the case. Yeah, 100%.
Political communication. The High Court has agreed to hear it next year. So what will you lose when social media is taken away from you?
Well, we will lose connections, but we will lose our democracy. This law is saying that democracy begins at 16, which is condescending and it's incorrect.
Listen, there are definitely negatives on social media. I'm not denying that. I completely agree. We're saying that getting rid of the kids is not the solution. We didn't do anything wrong.
The government says it has acted to protect...
So obviously coached by the corporation.
Now say that about Greta, fucking weirdo.
Children.
Oh, they're so obviously coached by adults. 16-year-olds aren't that smart. No, Vaush, that's just you. You fucking clown. What was his Greta Thunberg coverage like? Because that's what they were saying about her. Oh, Greta's just being coached by the adults. She's not real. She doesn't believe in anything that she's saying there. She has no idea. She's just being she's a victim of abuse. That's the conservative talking point. Somehow, I don't think that was Vaush's position.
From potentially harmful content, harmful people, and addictive algorithms.
And there are these powerful, harmful, deceptive design features that even adults are powerless to fight against, like autoplay.
You can
oh, well, ban the adults then.
Tell CNN's bias in the story, by the way, because the very first thing they showed were corpo-backed teenagers throwing a lawsuit forward.
What?
Rather than engage with the subject material at all or show the opinions of experts. Oh, you have to be aware of the media.
What opinions of experts? Who are the experts, Vaush? Where is the monastery where the experts on the long-term impacts of being able to access the internet before the age of 16 are? Where are they? Where is this done? I'm not aware of that.
Media bias. CNN is run by the exact same kind of people that are funding this lawsuit, okay? Deregulation-minded oligarchs who want all of your babies growing up watching, Amazon warehouse training modules.
Like, what if you put rules on ads on social media? What if you put rules on ads on social media so that companies can only show you ads if they verify your age? How about that? Why is the immediate angle no social media access at all? Because social media is important. You find out about important things through social media. You find out about local disasters through social media. You find out about things that happen to your friends and family through social media. You find out about things that happen at your work through social media. You find out about, and by the way, those kids are working. You find out about, social media is important. is the idea that they shouldn't have the ability to communicate at distance?
At Thumbdump and the Bump Chump super chatted $5. My 5-year niece is an iPad kid. I threw on an episode of Columbo and she watched the whole skeptical, permanent attention damage claim.
I was also a Columbo kid. Thank you. Kids under 16 shouldn't be working? Oh, I agree.
And prompting ChatGPT to ask whether or not...
Actually, what is the minimum working age in Australia? Minimum working age, Australia. Might be higher. In Australia, there is no single national minimum working age, but generally kids can start part-time casual work around 13 years old. But they require permits if they're under 15. Think about this. They're allowed to exploit a 14-year-old's labor, but they can't use social media.
Not it's safe for them to drink the...
I don't know how to explain to morons that Vaush is not a leftist and has zero leftist values. He's just a liberal. That's all. And he's not one of the good liberals because we know what's on his computer. We know what his proclivities are. We know what he's done to people he's been in a power relationship with in the past. We know that he's sexually harassed people. We know that he's colluded with people in his inner circle to bully those people off the internet afterwards and to hide them, so that another sex abuser had to come in and socially punish him for it. Destiny. We know this. I don't get how people are this dumb. I don't understand it. They like to be lied to. They like to be manipulated. They like to be exploited. They like to sell their integrity and their dignity, so they can pretend that this person cares about them and is a big daddy figure on their side. That's it. That's it. The right wing has tons of broad-shouldered guys with beards. I mean, usually they're not broad-shouldered, but guys with beards who sort of put on a paternal affect. Tell them to wash their balls, and there you go.
Funny, unlabeled, white bottle-filled liquid underneath the sink.
Endless scroll and snap streaks. So what chance do our...
I do think there should be a social choice the parents are enforcing and not legislation. Yeah, I used to think that, but now civilization's ending, so I kind of feel like the government should just not give you a choice.
Anarchist, by the way. Anarcho-syndicalist, by the way.
I don't know. Seems like people are really failing. Government is too, mind you. It is a social...
Meaning what, Vaush?
Choice, like vaccines. 100...
What does that mean? Government is... What does that mean? What does that mean, Vaush? Is the government's attention span shot from TikTok? What does that mean?
100%, yeah. Is this a social media internet cause thing, though? I think it's 100% because of the rise in prominence of internet content. 100%, yeah.
But why? Why do you think that?
Phone.
Mr. The American education system hasn't changed in 100 years. Why do you think that?
Well, phones are the internet now. Would you also blame COVID? A little bit. I think that...
A little bit? You think kids' education's being radically disrupted for 2-3 years? Didn't do anything?
At the COVID lockdown bubble and the pause to mass education also just happened around a time where we started to see these effects really take root, Obviously, COVID worsened it in a lot of ways, but I think that even if COVID hadn't happened, we would still be dealing with this. Definitely a double whammy. How do you enforce it at the government level without destroying privacy? You shouldn't ask me questions like that, because right now I've been primed by what we've just watched to be so anti-children having access to the internet that I would...
You were primed by a woman showing a student mocking her because they were bored and calling her students zombies with no cognition. that was enough for you, like in a gross display of inappropriate, like a grossly inappropriate display, showing an actual student's assignment, broadcasting to the world, to her students, that she thinks they're zombies. You were convinced by that to go, yeah, it's the children's fault. They need to be banned off social media. This guy's brain is just rotted. There's nothing going on in there. There's nothing going on in there. Words are going in and they're coming out his fingers, but nothing's happening. Dear God, okay. Guys, I did not want to spend 3 hours on this, but we did. That was a choice that was made. I'm going to send you on your way. Who is live right now? And I need to record the essay tonight. Hopefully I can. Tomorrow night we're going to get back to after regular stream Patreon streams. I apologize, it's been low. I've had, once again, been going through just a shit ton of stuff this week. I will see you tomorrow. Have a good night. Cherish the small things. Who is live right now? Dead Domain? Ooh, Dead Domain. Can I read into Dead Domain? I cannot. They have it turned off. Can someone go ask Dead Domain to let me... Actually, I've got Dead Domain in DMs. I can just ask.